Hello and welcome to my first commentary Speedpaint video. I've been thinking about doing videos like this and thought, why not give it a shot? This first one is mainly for experimenting purposes, so it will be covering an art piece I finished a few months ago. In this piece, I tried to be mindful of the composition and design, so I could tell a story through the artwork. A story about Tubbo's character on the Dream Smp and his relationship with grief. Forewarning, this video will contain spoilers for the Dream Smp, as I'll be discussing Tubbo's character throughout all the events that have taken place so far. That also means that I'll be discussing topics of death, so please keep yourself safe. Tubbo's character is one of my favorites, if not my absolute favorite. His character is fascinating to watch throughout the plot, and I love me some good character development. He goes through so much and grows more interesting as each event piles on top of the other. As much as I wish I could delve into Tubbo's entire character, that's not what this video is about. I want to focus on Tubbo's relationship with grief, especially with the lore events in late November of 2021 and how I tried to portray that through art. First, I want to recap some significant events that could cause Tubbo's character to grieve. Tubbo has lived through many wars between early Lemamberg, Mamberg, and new Lemamberg. He has watched his friends get hurt and lose their lives, even losing two of his own. One was lost during the betrayal by his comrade Eret in the final control room, and the other at his execution by firework during the Mamberg festival. He has also frequently witnessed the destruction of his home due to explosives. The Dream Team blew up early Lemamberg, Wilbur pressed the detonate button, and then there was the events of Doomsday. Oh, and let's not forget all the pets that Tubbo has lost, and how many of his builds were destroyed. His scientific research projects were often stolen or destroyed too. He was also given the position of president at a young age and forced to exile his best friend soon after. He grieved for Tommy on multiple occasions, thinking he was gone for good. Tubbo himself almost lost his last life to Dream during the final disc war. This was also when he realized how little he cared for his own life. Things got better for a time with Dream in prison, but then Ghostbird was used to revive Wilbur, which led to Ranboo losing a canon life. All these events led up to the jailbreak stream by Technoblade, in which Ranboo is killed once again, but this time he doesn't come back. Tubbo learns from Technoblade that his husband died trying to protect their son, who he soon realizes has been kidnapped. Now, that's a lot for one person. Even one of these events could be enough to make a person grieve, but all these events? How much loss can one heart take before it is crushed? This is the question that inspired the creation of this art piece. It caused me to picture a scene where everything starts to hit Tubbo. As the shock of Techno's words begin to wear off, the following stages of grief come in: denial, anger, bargaining, guilt, and depression. All these emotions have been bottling up inside Tubbo throughout his life, reaching this breaking point as his family, his source of comfort, is taken from him. I needed to illustrate it, so I did some research. I looked into what colors are often associated with the different stages of grief and created a color palette. But before we get into colors, I want to point out some details in the line work, specifically the effect I tried to achieve with the vertical lines dragging down from the top of the illustration towards Tubbo. Lines can affect the mood of a drawing just as much as colors, so I added those vertical lines to create a feeling of everything weighing down on Tubbo. His thoughts and feelings are trying to drag him under. And now, back to colors. Each color represents one of the stages of grief. Yellow represents denial, red equals anger, purple bargaining, dark blue guilt, and black depression. Keeping this in mind, I tried to place my colors strategically so I could convey a story through color. Hopefully your eye is drawn to the yellow heart and Tubbo's face first, because I intended it to be the focal point of this piece. I did this by making the heart the lightest value, the glow radiating outwards. Using this as the focal point tells the viewer that Tubbo is currently experiencing denial. The love in his heart tells him to deny the fact that his beloved family is not safe. It wants to deny that Ranboo won't be coming home tonight or that Michael isn't safely tucked in bed upstairs. A gradient from red to purple to dark blue covers the background. With this, I wanted to show how the stages of grief, anger, bargaining, and guilt follow after the denial stage. Because while Tubbo is experiencing denial in his heart, externally he's looking for someone to blame. Placing blame can take many forms, and I think the stages of grief depict that well, especially with Tubbo's character. The red bleeding down from the ceiling and onto the top of Tubbo's head shows how anger will soon cloud his mind as he seeks out Sam for justice. This is blended into the bargaining stage where the blame game shifts towards himself. Thoughts of, if I had been there, I could have stopped him. Or, if I had just gone with him that day, all of this could have been avoided, etc. Which leads to the dark blue or guilt creeping in. Now, guilt is an interesting topic when it comes to Tubbo's character. I believe his character struggles with survivor's guilt, to a degree at least, because he outlived Tommy and Wilbur, and now to add to that, Rombu. Now, if I could bring your attention back to the focal point, I depicted Tubbo's heart as a more pixelated looking one because Rombu uses similar looking hearts in his own lore. It was directly inspired by the short lore clip Rombu released on Twitter after his character's death, the one with the We'll Meet Again song playing after his final life represented by a heart is shattered. It got me thinking about stress fractures that lead to the ultimate shattering. I began to wonder, with everything Tubbo goes through, how many cracks are in his heart? He's been on his last canon life since his execution in Manberg, and the grief from that event and those prior wouldn't just disappear. Each experience created some kind of strain on him, and I depicted that effect as these grief fractures or cracks on his heart. And the loss of his family was almost enough to shatter it. I tried to convey that overwhelming feeling by drawing Tubbo clutching his heart and sobbing because he didn't know what to do. All that grief is so much, almost too much. And yet, his character presses on, because his son, his Michael, is still alive. He's going to save him. So he picks himself back up after allowing himself that moment of despair and gets to work finding his son. Tubbo's character is incredible, and I appreciate him so much. I'd love to ramble about him all day, but there must be an end to this video. So in closing, I find the relationship between Tubbo's character and grief fascinating. I hope I could illustrate some of my ideas and the story I had in mind through this piece. Please feel free to share your thoughts with me in the comments below. I love discussing characters with people. If you enjoyed this video, consider leaving a like and subscribing if you'd like to see more. Thank you for watching. It is very appreciated, and I hope you have a lovely rest of your day or night. Bye!